All right. No, 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 no. You got to listen to the way people talk. You don't say affirmative or some shit like that. You say no problemo. And if someone comes onto you with an attitude, you say eat me. And if you want to shine them or shine on them, it's hasta la vista, baby.
Well, I know this quote quite well, saying that we did this movie on the podcast, and this is one of my father's favorite movie quotes. He would often uh, say to me as a child, "Hasta la vista, baby." That's the Terminator 2, greatest action movie of all time.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
Non è facile il feeling. Spirit is something. I think this just might be my masterpiece.
Welcome to the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast. This is Justin.
And I'm Joey.
In this episode, we join Japanese dream team Kurosawa and Mifune as a rookie cop looks for his stolen pistol in post-war Japan. And we try to get in touch with our true selves in Spike Jonze and Charlie Kaufman's Being John Malkovich.
And just a heads up, as always, we do discuss our full thoughts on the film. So if you've not seen a movie, just skip ahead to avoid any spoilers.
And if you want to be a part of the club, Movie Club cast, just hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment and email. We would love to be friends with you and talk and chat about movies. So, my friend, good news for you, huh?
Well, I was going to say, and on that note, let's do this before we kind of forget about it. Again, so we did get a message, and it did take us a little while to respond to it, and I want to apologize.
I think we got it back in June.
We just missed it. Yeah, we got it back in June, so it did take a little while. We just missed it. It was not intentional. So we got this message from a Ronan Feldman.
Okay.
And basically, so he is on Letterboxd as Ronan's13, and he had a lot of nice things to say about Justin and Justin's review style and how they're very well written. But he did ask Justin, did you have any tips on writing reviews and how to get a system / give a score that feels right to you? Because he said in his case, he's not a fan of the 5-star system, which Letterboxd uses. And he wants to know, do you think grades are necessary at all? And what is your favorite animated movie? And that part kind of ties in is Justin did like a list of his he made, where he ranked all the animated movies he has seen. It's about 775 of them.
Wow.
So I think I've only seen like 77 of that list. So what say you, Justin?
Tips on writing reviews. Well, when I first got onto Letterboxd, I just kind of write a paragraph or something. I think it was either Dunkirk or Persona where like my mind just kind of opened up and I just started, just putting everything down. And so like I've never had like a movie friend in the area, since I've been married or whatever, just to kind of like, a lot of folks like go to the movies together. They'll like hang out in the lobby or go to like Denny's or something and chat about it afterwards. And I just really never had that outlet until Letterboxd. And then just gradually I would just write my, my full thoughts on film just so they're kind of categorized there on this awesome platform. And, just over time, I just found different ways of doing it. I remember early on, like I did reviews like There Will Be Blood, and I really went into like plot synopsis stuff. And I tried to get away from that just because I used to suffer from a really bad OCD in terms of my writing. So I would like not only write a bunch, but I would edit a bunch and reread a bunch, and it was just becoming way too time consuming. So thankfully, over the years, I've come up with different strategies in order to condense my thoughts. You'll probably notice I have a bulletized style, which makes it really, really easy to get out a lot of thoughts about a film without having to tie them all into paragraphs or what have you. I remember when I was writing my Doctor Strangelove review, and I must have had like at least 10 quotes from that movie throughout the thing. And that's kind of the breakthrough review I had, where I was really kind of latched onto this style where I would throw out a snappy lead and do a movie quote, kind of get my true thoughts out about it, and then, go from there. So I guess that's how I would that's kind of how my process came for structuring my reviews. Ratings. Yeah, that was a tricky thing to get a hold of at first. I'm a pretty good fan of the 5-star rating. I find 10-star a little redundant because it's kind of the same thing, but I kind of find 10 stars overwhelming. When I think of 5 stars, I got like, it's a masterpiece, near masterpiece, it's excellent, it's really good, it's okay, and then I kind of get muffled under 3 stars. Me and Joyce had several arguments about we're all trash a movie, but then I'll only rate it like 3 or 2.5 stars because it has merits. I didn't totally hate it, but I did like to pick on it an awful lot. So I don't mind rating films. I mean, I can see how that's unnecessary to some folks, but at the end of the day, when I get done with the movie, I'm like, it was okay. It was really good. Yeah, it was excellent. Oh, I freaking loved it. Oh, it was near masterpiece. And I've kind of made those terms into these different star levels. What say you?
So as far as structuring my reviews, I take a very different style than you do. Now, sometimes I will get very meaty and go in depth on some stuff. I think like my meatiest one is probably Rise of the Skywalker. Also, I did a pretty meaty one on Clerks 3 because I did get into one of the sneak peek theater viewings of that. I'll go into that a little bit later. But most of mine are usually pretty short and to the point. Typically, it's more about like things that stood out to me in the movie, like kind of like where if you were talking out, like you were saying, talking about standing outside the movie theater or going somewhere to eat and talking about the movie with your friends or whatever, and you're like, oh shit, that was cool as hell. Like that's kind of more my style. And sometimes I will talk about technical prowess or something like that. It just kind of really depends on the day. Also, it depends on if I'm on my phone or my computer. If I'm on my phone, it's usually a little bit shorter versus if I am able to sit down on my computer. As far as the star rating, I try to keep it like 2.5 being like very average and then going either up or down from there. But it is a lot about how I feel. Like I try to keep it like, oh, I dislike this movie, but it was technically made and well written. That might still get a 4 or 4.5, but I do think a big part of it is enjoying the movie. I do think that should be part of the star rating. But it is very hard to differentiate because, like, take something like, I don't know, like the Boondock Saints, it's in our part of it, quote from it's in our opening theme. Like, I love that movie. It's a great action movie. I can quote it, I can watch it all the time. But I mean, that's not a 5-star masterpiece. Like when you're talking about it in terms of something like Casablanca or something like that. But to me, like that is a 5-star action movie that is great, and that's what I rated it because it makes me happy. And when I finish watching, I'm like, damn, that was a good movie. And that's kind of how I go about it. And that also leaves me, I think, a lot of leeway. I could watch it again and maybe I'm in a different place in my life, or maybe, I'm in a different mood or something. And I'm like, oh, it didn't do the same thing for me. And I can just kind of scale it up and down. It really just depends. And I think the main thing here is everybody will probably tell you something different. So whether it's Justin or myself or some other people on, Rotten Tomatoes or within Letterboxd or what have you, they'll all tell you something different. And you just kind of have to play around with it till you get what works for you.
Yeah, no right or wrong way to do it. It's however it fits best into your brain, because I don't think you should overthink ratings by any means. It should become what's natural. I mean, sometimes you're going to tussle over something. I think I struggled when I was rating The Room, because I knew it was going to be like 1.5 stars, but the movie's so much fun at the same time, where I did kind of pump it up, and I think I gave it a heart in the overall review, because it has that enjoyment factor despite being pretty terrible. You seen The Room?
I mean, yeah, and I run across that, especially doing Schlock Talk, where, like I watched one of these movies and it's like, man, it's really bad. Like it might be really good movie, but it's actually kind of bad, but you still like it, and so it's technically this movie is garbage, but I'll give it so many stars because I liked it, kind of thing. And I did see The Room, and The Room is god awful, but it is hilarious and memorably awful, with the quotes and that kind of stuff. So unlike something like Beast of Yucca Flats or Alone in the Dark, where it's just unwatchably bad, this, at least The Room has, you can sit around and kind of, especially if you're watching it with friends, and kind of do your own Masterpiece 3000 kind of vibe to it. So, I mean, at least that one has some merit.
All right, I have pulled up Ronan's list here, and so are these in ranked order? Let's see. For years, animation has been one of the most creative genres in film, both story and visuals, in all very ages. It can all vary between ages and styles in the celebration of animation. Okay, so I'm not sure if these are in order.
The top of it says...
Oh, yeah, it does says one.
It says animated movies I saw ranked.
Okay, so it does have some ranking to it.
I would say that these are in a ranked order. But yeah, man, when you get that, like, that's a lot.
You can definitely tell he's into, Miyazaki. That's the name. With Totoro being there at the top, and Grave of the Fireflies, leaves most people as a sobbing mess. So I can see he likes the Japanese emotional stuff for sure. Soul's a good movie. Spider-Man. Yeah, solid top 10. I'm going to scan down, see some of the lower ranked stuff kind of surprised me at times. Good to see Secret of Nim in the top 30. Ratatouille should be a little higher, I think.
I mean, I see Princess Mononoke down here at 95. I feel like that should be a lot higher, just personally.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
But it's just me. And like, I mean, there's plenty of them. I've seen Wreck-It Ralph. That's a good one. That's one of my favorites. I don't see, and maybe I'm just like Aladdin. Like Aladdin should be, I don't know, like the top, I don't know, 5. But probably different time.
I do see Aladdin here on the first page.
Let me scan to the end. It's like the 40s, but it should be in like the top 5.
Let me scan to the very bottom of his list. I recall seeing
that's the fun thing. That's the good thing about rankings, is that you have fun with them, and everybody can like some different stuff. Oh, there's some Family Guy in here, some Family Guy Star Wars.
Okay, this last page is pretty much what you would expect with like the direct to Disney sequels. Oh my gosh, he has all the Bratz movies in here. I can't believe you've watched all those. I haven't. Are you an Evangelion fan? I hear so much about this thing, but I don't even know where to start with getting into that.
I've never really watched a ton of Evangelion. I think I watched some of it, honestly, back in like high school with Troy, and just I'm not a huge anime person, so it's just just not my thing. I probably would rewatch it. I mean, like, there's some anime I like. Like, I started watching Samurai Champloo, and I really need to finish that. And what I liked of it, I saw. It just, just kind of depends.
Yeah, this is a great list. I definitely recommend checking it out. We'll definitely tag it in the comments for the YouTube episode. And, follow Ronan and check out this list. And, you can probably pluck some animated shows out of here that you want to catch up with. Yeah, I think Five Will Goes West at 651 is about accurate. Oh, but how is that ranked over Oliver and Company? That's a crime. It's hard to rank. I can't imagine ranking 700 films. That's crazy. But,
right? That's
more
crazy.
power to you.
there's so many people who have like, oh, my top 100 movies, and I made one at one time, and I'm like, I don't even know if this is right. Like, getting
Yeah.
outside of maybe the top 5 to 10, it just gets so muddled down, and I feel like um, it's just a lot.
Awesome. Well, thank you
So,
so much, Ronan, for following us on Letterboxd and hopefully the show, and hope to hear from you more. So, all right, let's get into what's new in the zoo. So, I know Joey, you have some big news for me, for the audience.
I have some big news for you. Are we talking about my new job?
I think so. Yeah. It's pretty
Oh,
big
well,
news.
yes, we are. That is pretty big news. I know we talked about it on the last episode that my buddy Christian opened up a retro game store here in my hometown that I run. It's called New Game Plus Florence. We do have a Facebook page, so if you are in the South Carolina area or in maybe North Carolina, we are in the northeast corner of South Carolina, like not super far from North Carolina, and you are looking for some retro games, and I do mean retro, anything Atari, NES, Lynx, SNES. I mean, you name it, we've got it or have had it. We just opened up this past Saturday, which would have been I don't know, the 24th, I believe.
How far is the store
Um,
from Buc-ee's?
From Buc-ee's, so Buc-ee's is like the first Florence exit coming down 95 South. The closest exit to us would probably either be the Florence Darlington exit or the Magnolia Mall exit, the I-20 spur. So
Okay, so just putting this into
it,
context to like our United States audience. So like you're going down 95, you're heading to Florida or whatever. You see all these
it's
south
like
of
10
border
minutes,
signs.
15 minutes. Oh, also don't
Um,
stop at south of border. That's a fucking waste of your time.
is it even
Um,
open anymore? Every time I've gone past it, it looks so run down.
I
And by
mean,
the way,
it's
this
looked
is
that
like
way since I
a
was at.
Mexican style resort on the South Carolina side of the North Carolina border, which is advertised to all hell, but it's I don't was it what was can you what was its high point?
Probably before we were alive. I
Oh
mean, I
wow.
remember it being there when I was a kid. Like, I mean, I remember people talking about it. It used to be this big deal, and it used to bring like a lot of jobs and tourists into that area. I
Mm-hmm.
think kind of back in the day, it was that you're traveling trying to get to Myrtle Beach, because that it's only maybe 20-25 minutes from that exit with Bucky's, and that is the Myrtle Beach exit,
Mm-hmm.
um, off of 95. So. But yeah, no, from Bucky's, it is not very far. It's 10-15 minutes at that. I mean, we're not right off the interstate. You do have to go in a little ways. I mean, honestly, coming from like say Myrtle Beach, you're just gonna turn up what 301 or whatever until it turns into 76, and then you're gonna ride 76 until you're there.
Mm-hmm.
And in our little plaza that we're in, we have Heroes Hideout as well, which is the local card shop slash ramen shop who we're partnered up with.
Cool.
And in the plaza next to ours is Galactic Comics, which is the biggest comic book store in the East Coast. It is
Oh,
freaking huge.
did not
It is
realize
in an
that.
old it just became that. So basically what happened was the store that I'm in now used to be Galactic. They moved 2 doors down. Heroes Hideout went into where they were. They moved into the plaza next to us because Salvation Army moved out, and then Heroes moved into their old spot, and we have that original spot. So you basically, it's kind of like this little nerd plaza. You can come in and do your comic books and figures over at Galactic. You can come to us and get your retro video games. I mean, we've also got the decor. We've got neon lights. We've got the geometric shapes. We've got like 90s Taco Bell colors. We've got an old floor model CRT, with like a lava lamp, a whole like little living room setup. Like today I played Rugrats on it all day. Yesterday I played Ninja Turtles. The day before I played Guts.
Is
The
that
front
NES
TV,
or
no,
SNES?
the Nickelodeon, like Nickelodeon Guts. Like I was playing like TV, like TV shows running on it.
Oh,
And
you're watching
then
shows. Oh, I thought you were playing the video
yeah,
games
so
for
that's
those.
where no, we do have like a little setup, and there's a SNES, but it's not hooked up to it. It's just there for show.
Hmm.
And then like we have like on the front TV, I always usually put some Twitch VOD on YouTube of like a classic game streaming, like A Link to the Past or like today was Chrono Trigger. And then the back TV, I usually play some sort of music, like video game music. So like I've been playing like the GTA radio stations. The other day I played like the top 50 video game songs of all time. So it's all kind of just, that kind of 90s vibe going on. You come in, hang out, and then, you get hungry, you can go a couple more doors down and go check out Hero's Hideout, go get you some ramen or some chicken wings, noodle bowls. They actually just started doing drinks, and they're all kind of nerd themed, but then you can get your Magic on or your Yu-Gi-Oh, your Flesh and Blood. It's this whole little center, and it's all pretty awesome.
Yeah. Buc-ee's is that's a brand new location there on the North-South Carolina border. Definitely recommend checking that out. And then go say hi to Joey there at Retro Games.
Yeah, speaking of that Buc-ee's, it's like the biggest one in it's one of the biggest ones on the East Coast. I feel like I remember someone saying, and obviously it's very new. So yeah, it's people, especially it opened on my birthday back in May, and people like it was I thought it was silly that it was such a huge deal, but I've seen like TikToks, like famous TikTok people traveling to Florence to come see it.
It is ginormous. Like I went to Buc-ee's in Florida and was like, oh yeah, this is a ginormous gas station. But whenever we stopped there, the new one, it was like a Friday afternoon, I think, and it was slammed. And they actually had really, really good food and every snack imaginable. So it's the ideal bathroom.
I've only been in there the one time, and I went in. It was like Saturday night, and we went in at like 12:30, 1 o'clock after we finished playing cards at Heroes. And I spent like $50 in there because I bought like a burrito for the next day and like a brisket sandwich and a barbecue sandwich and jerky and cookies and everything. Like I literally, though the cashier probably thought I was stoned out of my gourd. So.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. Anything else you want to highlight?
Just if you're into retro games, come check out New Game Plus. It is I'm so excited about it. Like just getting to waking up and go to work and not hating my life and not hating my job is great. And I mean, it's just me and Christian and his sister. The three of us put in just so much time and effort, getting it cleaned up and getting the decor and like running around, like getting, to Goodwill and Mission Mart and stuff and finding stuff for the store. And it's just, if you're in your 30s or late 30s, like Justin and I, or maybe even your early 30s or a little bit older, you're definitely going to get that nostalgia vibe. You're going to enjoy it. And just, so many people have just walked in and been like, oh, this is my childhood or, what have you. So just if you're in the area or decide to travel through, come on through. We can talk about video games. You want to talk about movies, we can talk about movies. It'll be, it's just a good time. Like I actually, like I don't even mind that we're recording this this late because now I don't have to be at work at 9:30 in the morning, and even so, like 10. We open at 11, and I mean, I today I was there at 10 just because we've been so overwhelmed with trades. We did not think it was going to be this big to start with. Like we did a lot of business the first day because it was the grand opening, but these first 3 days of this week we have been just inundated with trades, and because of the
Did you guys have the
registered
capital
POS
set up to do that?
I mean, yeah, we've got
Or do you trade for store credit, or do you hand out cash?
we store credit and cash. Cash is a little bit less. I mean, we work very similar to GameStop in that regard. And we try to beat their prices on the stuff we both carry, but we are definitely way more retro. That's our main thing. Like, we don't have PS5 or Series X. Now, if someone wants to bring us one, then by all means. But, I mean, we've got some money, different things like that. But, like, today, we did $900 in trades. Most of it was in store credit, but, it got to the end of the day. We hadn't done a lot of actual making money, like sales. And so, we had to tell somebody, like, hey, you want cash for that, you probably need to come back tomorrow. Like, just because we're trying not to give out too much more cash than we take in. But we try to be competitive on the prices. and we tend to generally will take things, like in a condition that maybe GameStop wouldn't. You just don't get super much for it. But like I said, I just enjoy getting to go in. Like we spent so much time getting that store ready. Like I was just doing it on my personal time, not even getting paid because the owner is a very good friend of mine. And it was, if we want to get this ready and open on time, and I wanted to get out of that miserable job at the bank, it
Mhm.
needed to happen. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, I
so
wish the
yeah,
best for you. I mean, you can actually probably say, you're living the dream and not have to be sarcastic about it. And I just pray it's sustainable for you because, I'd be,
I mean,
nervous about getting into a brick and mortar setup like that. But, I mean, it sounds like you guys are hitting a sweet spot there in town.
yeah, we were both very nervous about it, but like the opening day, we made enough money to like run the place. Just that one day was to pay all the bills, pay my salary, and have money left over for like 2 months.
Sweet.
So,
That's a great way to start.
and that's a great start. And obviously, there's still going to have to be, we have to be, we can't like rest on our laurels kind of thing or be lazy, but it's just been,
Hmm.
we've been getting so many trades and there's been so many people that have been excited for it. And so it's just, anybody who's listening that's been in or is thinking about coming in, thank you. I thank you, Christian. Thanks you, Caitlin. Thanks you. We all thank you so very, very much. And please keep coming in and supporting us and supporting our sister businesses that are beside us. They're more established and well within the community than we are, and they're well known throughout the state. Um, but we're hoping to get to that point too. We did the PowerCon here in Florence. We're going to do it in the spring for the spring one, and we're going to try to start going to some of the other cons and like selling and stuff and getting our name out there in South Carolina, North Carolina.
What do you think
So
is going to be? Have you guys established like an online presence yet? Are you guys going to like trade through like your own kind of portal, or are you going to like maybe go through eBay or?
I don't think we'll do eBay. We might try to set up our own website or something like that and do it that way. We might run eBay eventually or something, but right now we're just trying to keep the focus in store,
Yeah.
getting people in the store to trade. Eventually, we might get something that, it's super cool and collectible, but there's only, it's only collectible to a certain amount of people. We may not be able to move it in Florence, but that's typically what the cons and stuff are for because people will be like, oh
Okay.
my God, I've never seen that, or, and they're willing to pay. Like, just like I rolled into that con and I was a vendor, so we were there before we opened and we were walking around talking to the other vendors, and I had a replica Kill Bill sword. I literally pulled the trigger without a second thought, and that's kind of how the con mentality works. So
How much does that set you back?
it was only $50. It was normally like
Oh.
80. It's just a replica. It's not like it's a real sword or anything, but
Oh, okay.
I mean, but
That's a
still, like
katana
it's
style.
Bill's. It is a katana, yeah. It's Bill's sword. I wish it was Beatrix's sword, but you know.
Nice. All right. So, yeah, we got this hurricane about to hit Florida, so people are going a little nutty about that. Rightfully so if you're down there in the Sunshine State. But yeah, hopefully it'll die down before it gets up here. But here in Charleston, I guess there's this tradition of where in West Ashley in Charleston, there's this sign for the Coburg cow, and it says Coburg, and then there's a statue of a cow. And apparently, every time there's going to be a hurricane barreling up the East Coast, they take down that cow, and that is an official sign to, you know, stock up on that water, get fueled up, grab a generator, and hunker down because we might get one of those hurricanes. Which we really haven't gotten a direct hit here in Charleston since '89 when Hugo hit. But yeah, you never know. But yeah, I just feel like
Did y'all?
hurricane season gets taken so much more seriously now ever since Katrina. Like even tropical storms, like they used to be no big deal, and then now it's like, oh, we gotta shut down the school because of a tropical storm.
Well, y'all didn't? What was the one? It was like in 2016, and it kind of fucked up the whole state. 'Cause I remember I was down in Beaufort, and it was messed up here. Florence got wrecked. Because I remember I was down in Beaufort, so me and the girlfriend, or the then girlfriend, like retreated to my parents' house in Bishopville, and
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it. I remember
It
I
did.
remember
I don't
Florence
remember the
and like
name of the storm.
Beaufort.
I'd have to look it up. I remember it swept through the area with some really high winds. I was at my in-laws at the time, and they lost a tree, and my youngest son had to be his C-section date got moved up because of the storm or whatever. They wanted, all the deliveries done before, the storm came in. So, yeah, I definitely remember that period of history just a couple years
Um,
ago.
And yeah, I think maybe like the news and the schools take them a little bit seriously, but definitely most of the people in our area, like the memes, all the memes like it's a hurricane, a tropical storm, and we're just out doing our normal thing, but then like an inch of snow and we freak out and the whole state shuts down. So, I mean, I think that's pretty accurate. I'm gonna be real. Like, I didn't even really realize that we had a hurricane coming, or, I guess it'll probably be a T storm by the time it hits us. I'm just like, people are like, oh, like I went and bought water yesterday, just my normal water for the house, and they're like, y'all stocking up for the hurricane? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? But again, I've been so entrenched in, getting the store open, getting the store running, that I just really haven't paid that much attention to anything else.
And let's see where it's the fall grind. So, but yeah, it'll probably be a wet weekend here. But yeah, definitely in the grind with school back in session. Kids doing fall ball, which is pretty fun. Doing karate, so very busy with the school year. Yeah, all's well. But I guess my favorite news is the fact that I discovered on Letterboxd yesterday that you can go and hit those three little
Late
buttons.
to the party.
I normally am. But you didn't share the news.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
you hit
found
these
out
three little
late,
buttons. You
late
hit
as
change
fuck one
poster,
night.
and for most movies on Letterboxd, you get a handful of different options for posters. So some of those shittier mover posters can be swapped out for something a whole lot cooler. So that is my new favorite time
So,
waster.
so I actually got like a notification on the app about it, and I thought, since you and I, because it said it was for patrons, and me and you are both patrons.
Oh, it's
When
only
you're a
for patron
patron,
status.
I'm pretty sure it was patron. Maybe it's pro and up, but I could have swore it said for patrons. But
Oh.
I thought that it was the movie background posters for like when you do a list, or your favorite movies on your wall. I thought it was for those posters, and I was so fucking hyped. Like, I'm still hyped about that, but I was so hyped for that. Oh my God.
I
So,
was the only my only discontent was, so like for this podcast I put like my favorite movie is John Malkovich all the way across, and I wanted to have each one of them be different John Malkovich posters. Can't do that. It's one and done, but still it's great to have that option.
that would have been cool. So speaking of my new store, or my new job, I guess is more apropos. I'd had a guy come in 2 days ago now. So yeah, I guess Monday. Maybe it was yesterday. It was Monday. Yeah, it was Monday. He we started talking about different kind of collecting and that kind of stuff, and it came up that that I had a pretty good sized physical movie collection. And he's like, oh my God. He was like, he's like, I got like these like two and a half, three bins of movies. He's like, I've already went through, and all the ones I want to keep are in there. And he's like, I could sell them to like a pawn shop or at the flea market, but I want to make sure they're going to go to somebody who's going to like take care of them and blah, 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 blah. So long story short, he comes back later and brings me all of these DVDs and Blu-rays, mostly DVDs. Um, and so yeah, I thought about doing like another unboxing like I did for the Second and Charles, but I was just like, I didn't really have the time or the energy to do so. But I ended up getting about 7 or 8 Blu-rays, 3 or 4 box sets of like TV shows, and probably like 10 or 15 DVDs I ended up keeping out of the rest of them. And then the rest of them were either things I had or things I wasn't super interested in. Um, but that was just a really cool interaction. I traded him. I had brought some of my personal strategy guides, strategy guide collection. And if anybody is a GameStop or former GameStop employee knows, we typically all have huge strat guide collections because they penny out. Um, so I traded him like 3 of my personal collection strategy guides for like 3 boxes of movies. So that was just a really cool interaction that I got to have, and got to be able to do inside of a business that was, it's not run by a big corporation or anything like that, because they, would have been like, no, you can't do that in here, blah blah blah. So that's the only other really new thing that's going on, and it's just like all, focused around New Game Plus. So
Awesome. All right, let's get to more of the movie chat of this movie podcast with the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, what you got?
I only got two because I have not been watching movies.
Oh.
Two. I've watched like 4 movies this month, and 2 of them were for this podcast. So I've got Nostalgia / I Was Not Emotionally Ready and B-movie schlocky goodness.
And I have Damn I'm Sappy, Horseshit, Seriously, and Still So Good. But I hate this word, problematic. Where shall I begin?
I guess I should pick one for you since you have more. Horseshit, seriously?
Oh Jesus! I watched this live action Pinocchio thing on the Disney Plus, and it's been a long time. I don't think I've ever given up on a movie like I did on this. This was awful. About quarter way in, I started cleaning like the room while it was going, so I might have missed things here or there, but there is literally a scene where Pinocchio goes up to a pile of horse shit in the road and stares at it, and that is in the movie. Tom Hanks as Geppetto's nice. They have a black fairy who shows up the one time. It's just, for being an extra like 45 minutes, there is no like cohesion between the scenes. They just happen. And like the animated movie has the different segues to where, okay, they're going to go to Pleasure Island. Oh, he's going to go to Stromboli. Oh, they're going to go get the whale. But it's just set up so awkward here. Jiminy Cricket's barely in the movie. It's a piece of shit. It's awful. You can just go down a whole list of everything that's wrong with this movie, and it's just a complete disaster. So please stay away from the live action Pinocchio. Like, you really needed to be told that. From
some of the live action stuff is
Disney. They're fucking. So you're watching the movie and you hear like "When You Wish Upon a Star," and it's just done in the most manipulative way possible. It just makes me angry.
All right. Which one of my 2 would you like, sir?
I'll just say B movie schlockiness, even though that's not the real answer, but let's just start there.
All right, so this is B movie schlocky goodness. This is actually already on our channel. This is was an
It's an
impromptu
ironic
episode.
category because there's no such thing as schlocky goodness.
But there is. But yeah, this was an impromptu episode of Schlock Talk where I was finally able to get back to do that, and it made me very happy. Just been having a lot of scheduling issues, or I had a whole episode that disappeared. I should have had another episode after Trailer Park Shark before this movie, but the audio, I had no audio, so it was like half a conversation. But this was Streets of Vengeance. Mine and Carl's friend Jenna came over, and we just she was like, instead of continuing to watch Shaw, she's like, let's do an episode of Schlock Talk. And I was like, all right. And we just kind of scrolled through some stuff we had saved on Amazon watch list and came across this movie called Streets of Vengeance. So it's made in the 2010s, like 2015, 2016, something like that. But it feels like 2016, and it feels like an 80s movie. Like, it just has a whole 80s vibe, and essentially it is all about, I don't want to say girl power, but it's like girl power fighting against like misogynist and basically a girl is an attack. She's a porn star. She gets attacked. She does not get raped. That was actually
Good.
One of the things I noticed is there was none of the girls that were attacked were like sexually assaulted. Now they were murdered. It was just murdered, but there was no, oh, we're going to get revenge because I was raped. It was because, they're attacking and murdering us. And it's bad. Don't get me wrong, but it's just, there's like a fake version of Closer in there. And it's just like, oh, this is what you get when you order Closer from Wish. But it's fun. It's a good time. It's just, obviously, it's just not going to win any awards. And like I said, it was on Amazon. I recommend it, and I recommend going to our YouTube channel and checking out mine and Jenna's conversation about it.
Awesome. Wicked awesome. What would you like to talk about next?
$1 million. Let's go. I've got one. Since I saw this while you were typing, I got to leave this other one for last. So let's go with Still So Good.
Oh, all right. So I rewatched Annie Hall. It's part of the best because I've seen all the best pictures now. I just have to retroactively watch and review the ones I saw back in the day. So yeah, watched Annie Hall and I love this movie. Even though obviously Woody Allen's a very problematic individual with his criminal record or what have you. So I don't want to really get into that. But gosh, this was the first Woody Allen movie I saw. His quirky brand of sarcastic, just blah, 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 about everything, just jabber talk about all his thoughts about this and that. And there's a whole section where they're going to see a movie. They're going to see a Bergman movie, and the guy behind him starts talking about Fellini, and I'm a dork movie nerd, bliss over those kind of conversations. But yeah, it's a really good movie. Diane Keaton is just adorable. She really, plays a really good, love interest for him. And the story's told a bit out of chronological order to where, throughout it, they're bouncing back to his previous relationships. And there's a lot of good, nature of relationships and, why we get in them and how absurd they are. And it's just a really, really special movie, despite, the issues with the filmmaker there. But Annie Hall still so good and awesome that it won Best Picture.
That's one I have never seen before, actually. I've seen some of his more recent things, I guess, stuff from the 90s, or 2000s, because he did a couple movies with ScarJo that I've seen. But
those definitely have a different flavor compared to Annie Hall and Manhattan. So hopefully you'll get to some of his earlier stuff and see where his roots are. I still need to watch more of it. I know some of his really, really early stuff is, I think he has a movie called Bananas, and I think he was in the Casino Royale parody movie, and so yeah, interesting how he went from stand-up comic into art filmmaking and so forth. All right, so what
that is pretty
not
interesting.
Nostalgically, emotionally ready for?
Oh well, that was Clerks 3.
Oh. Right.
So tons of nostalgia. I was apprehensive going into this movie, having coming off of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back reboot. Mm-hmm. I love meta movies. I think anybody who knows me and has ever talked to me about movies or listened to this podcast, how much I love Tarantino, how much I love Scream, Deadpool, that kind of anything that is meta, breaks the fourth wall, kind of winks at you a little bit, I'm about. Mm-hmm. Okay. Except for Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back reboot, because goddamn, that was the whole movie, and it was just the whole movie was like, hey, we're looking at the camera. Hey, we're referencing every other movie in the View Askew universe, but not in a subtle way. It was just, I don't know, it was just too much, and it just wasn't super great. So I was very apprehensive about Clerks 3, especially with how much I like Clerks 2. I love Clerks 1. I just hot take, I think Clerks 2 was better. But anywho, so I got in, there was only 2 showings in Florence, one on a Tuesday, one on a Thursday, both at 7 o'clock. So I got in on the Tuesday showing. First thing that was really cool about it was there were no ads. There were ads for Regal, But normally after those ads, you get your trailers or whatever. No trailers, just an intro from Kevin Smith, straight into the movie. And so it's all the characters It's Randall, it's Dante, Elias from Clerks 2 is in there, and you obviously got Jay and Silent Bob. And so you're waiting around, like, all right, where's Becky? And they hit you just real quick. This is if you have not seen this movie, as I suspect many have not, and you do not want any spoilers, this is now the time to turn back. I will try to not kill too much of it for you, Justin. But we're talking like 5 minutes into this movie, they let you know that Becky has died. So that's Rosario Dawson, done. So right off the cut, all right, this has a much more serious feel to this movie. And then the whole premise is that Randall has a heart attack, lives, and decides he wants to make a movie documenting his life, which is basically all the shit that happened in Clerks 1 and Clerks 2, except through Randall's perspective. And, it's supposed to be paralleling Kevin Smith, where he had a heart attack and shouldn't have lived and did. And so they kind of go through this whole reminiscing, and, all their new trials and tribulations. And I'm not going to spoil the end. I'll save that. But this was probably the most mature Kevin Smith movie, maybe outside of like something like Red State, or maybe Jersey Girl, which I have not seen, but is the only one I haven't seen, and I need to. But these are the characters he's had for 30 years. These are the ones that made him. These are the ones he cares about. These are the ones he loved. He put a lot of time and effort into it. And yes, there's dick and fart jokes and there's weed jokes because, well, it's Kevin Smith. The fuck do you expect? But he put a lot of time and effort into it, and the ending was not at all what I was prepared for emotionally. And I think that when it hits VOD, I think next month, and Blu-ray in November or December, that everyone who is a Clerks fan or just a movies fan should, and that's movies, not movies. We're not talking about Golden Calves here. Should go and check it out. And at the theater, at the end, you actually get part of the documentary about making Clerks. So that was also a lot of fun. So that was my nostalgia / wasn't emotionally ready.
All right, so my last one is Damn, I'm Sappy. So there are 2 Best Picture winners out there. Whenever you're going through the list of Best Pictures, you come across these 2 titles and be like, well, those sound like about the blandest, sappiest things you could watch. And that would be Ordinary People and Terms of Endearment, both 80s films. So I revisited Terms of Endearment. I'd seen it the one time. I remember being okay. I mean, Jack Nicholson's in it, and he's acting like a crazy guy, so that's fun. But, oh my gosh, I was just so captivated by how true to life this felt between this relationship between Deborah Winger and Shirley MacLaine as this mother-daughter, going through these like trials and tribulations of life, of like her marrying the guy that her mother doesn't approve of, and him being unfaithful and it not really showing the cards on that right away, and then Shirley kind of having to let down her guard to fall for this new guy. It's just, for being this drama, it just felt so genuine, and like, so there's so many reminders that reminded me of certain situations in my life. I was just the one that hit me the hardest was there's this scene where the mother is kind of flirting with this guy that's giving her some attention. She's being sweet, and they're just socializing, and her son's like kind of calling her out on it and being like, Mom, come on, and like all up in her face about it. And she just snaps at him and she's like, back away, give me space. And like, it just took me back to so many moments where I just totally lost it with my kids. And like, to have that just sudden burst of like emotion over like, I just need my space. It was just, it hit me in my core. And definitely recommend people checking out this one. This is one not to be slept on. In terms of endearment, holds up.
That is one that I definitely need to check out. I not seen near the amount of Best Picture winners as you like. I've hardly seen any comparatively. So, and it just the list of things to watch is so crazy long. So,
All right. Well, let's get into these feature movies. The night is not getting any earlier. So, Stray Dog.
well, no, yeah, we just spent like an hour. So, yeah, let's go. Let's get it.
Let's do it. Okay, so Stray Dog, this is your pick. It is from our good friend Akira Kurosawa from 1949. It is a film noir crime drama starring, some of his iconic actors there, Toshiro Mifune and Takesha Shimura. Okay. I've heard these names enough. I should start being able to say them correctly. It is also considered a detective movie among the earliest in Japanese genre that explores the mood of Japan during its painful post-war recovery. The film also considered a precursor to the contemporary police procedural and body cop film, based on the premise of pairing two cops with different personalities and motivations together on a difficult case. All right, so Kurosawa. This is my. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm talking about it being a buddy cop film. Like, I get it. Like, okay, there's two cops, but like, I think a buddy cop film is like, I mean, what our age or anything, what Rush Hour, or maybe like Lethal Weapon or something like that. This is definitely not that. It definitely has a much more serious tone.
At least not till the midpoint. It kind of gets into that in the middle, towards the end, but definitely not to start off with. All right.
So yeah, no,
how do you want to start?
I mean, honestly, like, so I love like every Kurosawa movie. This one was very slow, and he does have some movies that are very slow, but this one is very slow. The main thing I really remember is that they talk about how hot it is, and I remember thinking something along the lines when we did Key Largo.
Oh yeah.
Is these guys are in these full suits, and it's in the summer, and it's hot, and I'm just like, how are in these why? First of all, why is it like required? They're in these full fucking suits. They're like gonna melt to death and die. And they're like white suits. It's like they're not even white after like one day anymore. They're just gonna be so stained up. I'm gonna be real. Like, as slow as this movie was paced, like I lost. I had a hard time paying attention. And I mean, I tried to go back and watch some parts and stuff, but yeah, just. This one was like a slow burn, and I do think because I watched it on Tubi and had ads, and so I probably had an extra 20 or 30 minutes in my watch time because of the ads. It felt so long, and I was so done by the time I got to the end of it.
Yep, agree that it's over long. Let's get into these notes. So, I love the Kurosawa openings where we get the studio, and then we get those big Japanese characters. And this one we get the titular stray dog, panting or whatever. And I guess that is to allude to like what people are capable of being pushed into during desperate times. Yeah, the context of this movie, I'm coming to appreciate this a lot more with realizing that this is like a real look at post-war Japan with how like the economy was, in the ground, and they're dealing with the U.S. occupation after the war and so forth. So it's kind of desperate times. So it's kind of a reflection of what it was like. And so I'm not sure. Have you heard of Italian neorealism at all?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, that's a big film genre where, same thing that happened after World War II. Like, they wanted to get much more into like kind of the real humanistic suffering of what was going on and kind of capturing that on film. So you have movies like Bicycle Thieves that capture that. So this is kind of Kurosawa's way of doing that in what the Japanese landscape was. And it's kind of interesting seeing a crime story molded to that. What's that?
So kind of like maybe like Ashes and Diamonds as well. Like,
sure.
we're all way back
from the
to
Polish
episode
perspective.
one. Yeah.
I believe that was from Poland.
Yeah, that was Polish.
Okay. Definitely stood out to that. This is a real scratchy looking black and white movie, but you get past that pretty quick. And I mean, we say it over and over again. Kurosawa is a master at the visual medium of film, and yeah, this is a really really cool looking black and white movie at times with some cool camera stuff going on, as we'll get into.
Sorry, I'm doing like 7 things at one time. So yeah, continue. I'm here and paying 100% attention.
Okay, so the basic gist of the story is this cop feels super guilty that he lost his gun. So I guess the context here is that guns are illegal in Japan, and so the only way the criminals would get guns would be through the black market or stealing them. So that's what I gather from my brief look at Japanese gun laws, which I was kind of had heard of before. We find out that the Yakuza has gotten a hold of it, and yeah, the whole film is basically enduring the pain of what happens because of this lost gun and the pursuit to get it back. And but unfortunately, it's kind of stretched out quite a bit. As you mentioned, yeah, the complaining about the heat is definitely a big part of this movie. I mean, even like the ladies like scantily dressed here and there, you get close-ups of them with beaded up sweat all over their brows. So it's definitely one of those movies where you can feel the heat.
Yeah, and there's like when he catches the one girl, I guess who was like the main or one of the gun runners or whatever. She's just sitting there like pulling her blouse, like to fan herself off, and I just was like, man, is this girl? I was like, this movie's rated like PG, and it's a Kurosawa movie. Is she about to like just take her shirt off? Like, because she just kept doing it over and over and over and over, and I was like, what is happening here?
I was kind of like you with this first like hour of the film. Like my attention did wander quite a bit because so much of the story is told through these slight visual cues that if you're not like pulled into the fact that we're really focusing on post-war Japan, a lot of this will get lost on you. So context is paramount with this, I think. But yeah, you definitely see that Kurosawa artsy style whenever we get like an 8-minute montage of like him like being his desperation as he's scouring the black market there.
Yeah, I mean, it was that where he was trying to look desperate to get the gun or like to get someone to offer him a gun or whatever. Yeah, there's just lots of things where it just felt like everything was just a little bit too long. Like I was just sitting there going, "Is the movie? It's a Japanese, it's a movie about a gun being lost and being found. Like I don't really feel like that should be 2 hours long." But I guess, if we were talking about it, perspective of the time period and what people were going through then, and like gun laws in Japan, like someone losing a gun in America, as sad as it is to say, is okay. Someone lost a gun in America, like it's not that big a deal. I mean, it is a big deal, but it's not that big a deal because there's 30 million more guns, or whatever the number is. Like it's a much different thing in Japan, especially for it to also be a cop's gun.
And it shows a different side with this being a fairly new cop and him having the guilt of like his mistake leading to deaths, and he takes that really personally. So it's kind of a neat way to see kind of a more small story have more of a larger, I guess, emotional or human impact because, I mean, the cost of a life is so great, even though, with our American movies, we want to see, big battles, lots of casualties and stuff, to give us a big impact. But this movie tries to scale that way down to just, one gun, a couple victims at a time. That's a big fucking deal too.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, I definitely think that, I mean, Kurosawa was the master at like everything that he did, and I think that he does make it feel like it's a big deal what is happening. That he captures the one girl, but the guy didn't return the gun, so now he's desperate because he doesn't have his ration card, and he goes out and robs, or so it's that cause and effect, and I did this, and that is portrayed very well, is what I'm trying to say there.
Gotcha. A scene that tickled me a little bit was there's a scene where they're lining up the bullet in the chamber of the gun to see if it was the same gun that fired the bullet or whatever. And there's a similar scene in Great Mouse Detective, and I'm like, huh, wonder if that got pulled from there. Who knows? Yeah, early on, there's like just these two scenes where he's like relentlessly pursuing these two women, which I kind of was like, it was hard to kind of focus exactly what was going on. I think we've mentioned that, already. I think the real meat of the story comes in when we do get his partner, and the partner offers some kind of veteran perspective on all this as like the investigation gets a little bit more focused. They find out that I guess the suspect is really into baseball, so there's this huge like baseball game scene, which is fine, but a little drawn out. They arrest that guy. It's a cop movie, so of course there's a nightclub scene, a 50s nightclub scene. I mean, it doesn't get any sexier than that, right?
Oh, a nightclub scene? I mean, nightclub and cops, like, name a more iconic duo. I'll wait.
Oh, that scene where the two guys are talking at the dinner table. I'm sure that, I mean, I think there were some interesting things throughout, but, flicking back through, it's just like, geez. Yeah, like you said, each scene seems like it might hold on just a tad bit too long. And that's my nice way of saying it's too long. Let's see. Oh yeah. This is the part. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, this movie would benefit from being like 25 minutes shorter. I think like an hour and a half runtime for this movie, and it's short and sweet and to the point. But again, we're looking at it from 2022 perspective versus, and we didn't live then. I mean, it's kind of some of the same stuff we talk about in Ashes and Diamonds. We just hadn't, I guess, done enough of the talking about it really to get there where it was, we didn't experience this, we weren't living there. And so some of that I think is lost on us. Plus, that's, Japanese versus American. But yes, I think from our, like 30 minutes shorter, and it's just a smoother ride all along.
I thought a scene that does kind of hit pretty hard is when they're talking to the husband of a victim, and he's going on and on about like how his wife planted these tomatoes and now she's dead and now they're ripe, and they show a smashed tomato on the ground, and it really kind of focuses in on like the senseless violence and the loss of innocence and stuff. So all that's pretty good with Kurosawa tying this back into a more like, is it really worth it? And at the end, I thought the scene of the cop with the girl and his mother, gosh, that was super drawn out, and I was very confused about like what was going on there with like, I guess he was like probing her to get more information, but at the same time his partner was off at some bar, and then all of a sudden he got shot, and a little too much is shown off screen here.
Yeah, it's some of this stuff like, because I was making sure that if I started like, okay, I'm starting to not pay, like I'm starting to fade out kind of thing. It was like, I'm going to pause, I'm going to get up, and splash some water on my face. I was making sure I was drinking an energy drink, like, and even, kind of going back through something. It's like, man, what is happening here? Because, we get to the end and he's chasing the guy, and I'm like, man, you can't kill the seven samurai. And he's like, you're just fucking about. And Carl's like, well, you already killed one of the other people. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? When did I miss the other cop getting shot? Like, I don't remember that. Like, the fuck? So yeah, no, I'm with you there. That there's a lot of stuff
skirted around.
Left.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to mention the fact. So with this mother and daughter situation, there's a scene where like she sews this really nice dress that I guess the Yakuza gave her, and she's feeling like, oh, these guys they're criminals, but they get whatever they want, and why should I be stuck here in the middle between like the cops and the criminals? I want something too. And I mean that cuts pretty deep in terms of this society where so many people were in need, and then like why wouldn't they turn to crime in order to get what they can out of life at this point, because life's shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I think that's kind of the whole thing. Like, when you're poor and in poverty, like sometimes crime is it feels like or is the only option.
Just like High and Low, I really enjoyed the end where, Kurosawa cranks up the artsiness. We have this good scene where he's chasing down this Yakuza member, which is very obvious that he's guilty because like the entire back of his like suit and pants and stuff was that mud or blood? I don't know.
It was mud because that's how he figured out who he was because the guy
Right.
had ran out into the mud the night before. But yeah, that whole chase scene was very well done. There was a scene on a train. It might have been right after that where you just see the train going down the tracks. And like it just it was super well shot. I mean, of course it is. It's Kurosawa. Like he can shoot a movie dead for 30 years better than most people can alive. So
A lot of good tension in that scene as like they're like confronting each other in the tall grass, and then you get the artsy moment where they're both on the ground and they're kind of gazing up, and the beautiful natures around them, kind of showing that there's more to life. There's like beauty beyond like this callous violence and so forth. So always nice to see that tied in. Although I think High and Low did a little bit more, had a little bit better execution in terms of overall pacing. I know you really love that movie.
yeah, I mean, I think that is one of my favorite Kurosawa movies. And I think the pacing in that was a little bit better. But I mean, this is still a pretty early Kurosawa movie. Like
I
High
think
and
it's
Low
his
is like
ninth
another
movie.
14
This is the
years
earliest
later.
one I've seen.
Oh, this is not the earliest one I have seen
Oh
actually.
yeah,
but
because
it
you
is
have
still.
that Eclipse set.
I have that Eclipse set, which I still need to finish watching. But yeah, because I think I have seen. Let's see, it's my 13th Kurosawa, and so I've seen Sanshiro Shigata and The Most Beautiful. And I think Sanshiro Shigata, yeah, that's 1943. And then The Most Beautiful was 1944. So yeah,
Okay.
those are a little bit before that.
And then after that, his partners, he's okay, and then the movie just kind of ends. Giving this one a 3.5. Appreciate the Japanese neorealism aspect, channeled into a police procedural. We've already gone through it with the fact that how impactful this movie just makes one gun getting lost and what the ramifications are. We see an emphasis on the value of life mixed into the investigation. All good stuff. It's just that that pacing and subtle visual cues make it a little challenging, I think, for maybe an international audience on this one. So good movie. Definitely not the worst Kurosawa. It's not my least favorite Kurosawa. It'd probably fall somewhere to the middle or the bottom. But definitely glad you put it up in the queue for me.
Yeah, it had been on the list for a while. It was in the random list for season 3. So I was glad we finally got to get to it. I gave it also 3.5. Also not my favorite Kurosawa. And I think I got it. I just literally had it on the list. I think it's like 9th or 10th out of 13th or something. So yeah, it's definitely kind of more towards the bottom. But I mean, even the worst Kurosawa movies, even The Most Beautiful and which is like a propaganda movie essentially, they're all with their merit and are better than a lot of other movies in general. So
Can you recall what your least favorite Kurosawa is?
I think it was in fact The Most Beautiful. Yes, I got The Most Beautiful. And I've got like Throne of Blood and The Decadent, and I really need to rewatch both of those. Throne of Blood, I remember I watched it on a day, like it just wasn't a good day for me to be watching a movie, so I need to rewatch that. And The Decadent, I guess at that point I was just expecting all samurai all the time or something. So I just need to go back and rewatch it to probably appreciate it a little bit more. So with my favorite being Rain and my second favorite being High and Low.
Okay, so this is my 14th Kurosawa. Let me figure out where I'm going to rate it.
Oh, I'm one behind still.
My favorite is Ran. My second favorite is Seven Samurai. And then it goes into Dursu Ozala, So that still stands. Ikiru after that. High and Low, Hidden Fortress.
That's the one I haven't seen.
Ikiru?
Is Ikiru.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Well, I've also seen the 2 from that Eclipse set you haven't seen, so we've got a couple of different ones.
And then it's Hidden Fortress, Dodeskiden, Dreams. Where would I put this? Stray Dog falls somewhere here in this Kagamusha, Throne of Blood kind of area. I think I'd probably put it under Throne of Blood, over Yojimbo, Sanjuro, and Rashomon.
Really? You did not like Yojimbo and Sanjuro?
I just did not have a good taste coming out of those movies. I just thought they were just didn't fulfill me action-wise and were a little goofier than what I was expecting, and that was just not my cup of tea. And then I probably should revisit Rashomon again. I watched Rashomon twice in like a day just to be like, did I miss something here? And I didn't think I did. So, but yep, that's my updated Kurosawa list. Cool.
Nice.
All right, let's move into this other movie, because I think we might talk about it for a little bit. It's Being John Malkovich. It was my pick from 1999, American fantasy comedy. Yeah, that's about right. Directed by Spike Jonze, and don't forget it was written by Charlie Kaufman, because I think he is the true madman behind the genius here.
Well, you can take that up with Wikipedia, because that is copy pasted from Wikipedia, homie.
Well, I know it was directed by Spike Jonze and it was written by Charlie Kaufman. That all lines up. I'm just saying that I just feel Kaufman he's the wizard here, behind the curtain. Both making their film debut. The film stars John Cusack, Cameron Diaz, and Catherine Kinner, with John Malkovich. What a fucking great cast as a satirical version of himself.
Oh my god, the cast is nuts.
Cusack plays a puppeteer who finds a portal that leads into John Malkovich's mind. What a premise. What the fuck is this movie about? Let's dive in. And let me pull up Skype because I lost your pretty face.
Don't lose my pretty face.
So, Joey, this movie starts on a blue velvet curtain. Coincidence?
Well, one of those movies that you're talking about here, and that being the one we're actually talking about, is much better than that piece of shit movie you're trying to reference.
All right, fair enough. We've been there. Yeah, I'm curious to hear your initial thoughts here. Don't dive too much into the plot. We'll get into it. But what were you expecting? Did it meet? Did it exceed? What can you say about this bizarre movie?
Okay, so I know a little bit about the premise of this movie. I mean, this movie's 23 years old now. Like, I mean, John Malkovich is a huge star. He's very well known. I knew that somehow someone could go inside John Malkovich and could like see through John Malkovich and all of that, and that was really about it. I actually didn't know who was in it other than John Malkovich, and I really didn't know anything else outside of that premise, which was a strange premise, but also kind of cool. I was not expecting this movie to be quite as quirky, especially with like the puppeteering and all that, but it worked itself out. Also, freaking Catherine Keener, like, bruh. Like, I mean, the first thing I remember seeing her in was like 40-Year-Old Virgin, which she was a smoke show in that too. But in this, it's like, dude, she's like, business suit, bitchy, like, she's a nice girl. She's just like this straight up like bitchy sex pot, and I was like, dude, I'm here for it.
All right, so Charlie Kaufman. I think adaptation was my first, I still consider John Malkovich and adaptation Charlie Kaufman movies, even though that they were written by him and directed by Spike before he went off and did Eternal Sunshine with that other guy. But yeah, he's probably one of my favorite crazy out there modern art house filmmakers. He directs his own movies now. We've talked about a few on the podcast. I think I saw adaptation first, and man, I was just blown away by these two movies. I think I saw them either in late high school, early college, but these were definitely gateway films for me, getting into really weird artsy stuff. And it's awesome that this is the third time I've seen this movie, I think. And even now, I saw it indifferently than how I'd seen it before. Way more absurdist, just in basically every element. Like I remember when I recalled it, I'm just like, yeah, the 7.5 floor parks, weird. And they go into John Malkovich. I mean, all that's weird, but it's grounded in reality. No, it's totally absurdist in pretty much every way. But
and yeah, I definitely was like floor 7.5. I was like, what the hell is this? And then they're like bent over. And so, like, all right, are we in like some sort of like wicked fucking fever dream or something? But yeah, the movie is like the literal definition of absurd.
you got this eccentric couple who lives in this tiny apartment with all these wild animals, including parrots and monkeys and stuff. And you got Cameron Diaz, totally countercasted, but brilliantly so, as she's like this repressed, housewife stuck with this nutty puppeteer guy dealing with these animals, and then she ends up. Well, we'll get there, but what a
And
crazy
it's like
place.
it's like, well, you say housewives, but it's like she's supporting him because he's like basically a struggling actor, but it's a puppeteer. And so some other person has like made it big and is like the premier puppeteer. And I guess the only way like I could think is like you know who Chris Angel is, or
That
David
sounds
Blaine,
familiar.
David Blair.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
magicians.
the big time. Yeah, well, they're like the only two, so that I know of. And it's I guess it's like, well, if you're not one of those guys and you're like a magician or an illusionist or whatever, well, you just kind of fucking suck if you're not one of those guys. And that's kind of how it felt like whoever that amazing puppeteer guy was. And then here's John Cusack trying to be that, but couldn't be that essentially, and it was that kind of struggling actor thing because she's like, hey, you need to go get a job until this pans out, and blah blah blah.
And the puppets look just like the people they're supposed to look like, so creepy as they go into these like interpretive dance moments that he gets lost in, and then it zooms out to show that he's just this sad bastard doing his own little puppet show, fantasizing about these people that he makes puppets about and dances with in his little puppet world. So it's that part. Yeah, maybe it's not a good idea to do a scene of religiously, sexually oppressed monk and nun, like basically wanting to hump each other through the wall, and a little girl walks up and her father decks him. Good stuff.
Yeah, he was like, you son of a bitch, and it's like you just and then Cameron Diaz is like, oh no, not again, honey. So it's not like he just keeps doing it, and it's like
Yeah,
maybe
he's
you should
totally
keep doing
lost
that
in this.
Yeah, like on the street corner. So
Yeah, and he insists he has to be a puppeteer. He can't do anything else, even though he's an excellent filing clerk, as he so clearly proves. Not that his test was all that hard. then we meet the secretary at the floor 7.5 at Lester Corp, and how do you even describe her? She doesn't understand anything anybody says, and she apparently manipulates Lester, or I don't know what's going on there. There's so many strange quirks thing that you start to let it go because it's in this complete absurdist reality.
yeah, that whole like the whole thing there where the boss guy thinks he has a fucking lisp or whatever because she told him that whole thing is absolutely nuts. And the guy he's the boss and he's also really important later on. That's Lester, right? I can't place him. I know his face, and I've seen him in something from like the 90s or 2000s, and I can not place him.
Let me
So
see if I can do that.
let me see here. Oh, well, it was in the
Orson
Equalizer.
Bean. What else was
Maybe it
he
was a
in?
TV show because none of these. The only other movie I've seen him in was The Equalizer 2 and Inner Space.
He was in Dr.
But
Quinn.
Dr. Quinn Medicine, I did watch a lot of that with my grandmother back in the day. So, That might be it then, or like a commercial or something.
All right. So, now that I've been working for the government for an extended period of time, I'm more familiar with this term overhead. So, enjoyed that joke a little bit more since, yeah, we have low overhead. Literally.
I see what they did there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the intro video of the 7.5 floor about like being true, giving little people justice and having a place where they feel at home, and then they say it's just bullshit. Um, See, the boss of the company, Lester, going on and on about all his inappropriate topics, from what his pee turning orange for all the carrot juice and his sexual escapades.
And yeah, and John Cusack's like, we probably shouldn't do this here. And he's like, all right, we're gonna meet at this place. I'm gonna tell you all about it after work. And so he gets stuck there trying to he's supposed to go meet Catherine Keener, because he finally gets her to agree to go out on a date with him or go out for a drink with him.
And she instantly shoots him down after a puppeteer comes out of his mouth.
Oh yeah, she's like negative Ghost Rider.
Yep. Love the idea of this movie, like, just suddenly inserting us into Malkovich as an actor. Like, it has this kind of meta quality to it. I mean, with Charlie Sheen shows up as his friend, so it has this whole, like, hey, this is the actor John Malkovich, and all of a sudden he's, like, inserted into this bizarre phenomena. So that's all very, very fun twist to it, with him being the outsider to his own story. Fucking with his brain. Then it dumps you. Oh yeah. The phenomena dumping you right there on the Jersey Turnpike. Pretty shitty place to end up.
So do they ever really explain like why it's the Jersey Turnpike, or is that supposed to be, other than it's Jersey and Jersey's like the asshole in New York or whatever? Like, is there supposed to be something?
That was my takeaway.
Else there?
Just a really very inconvenient place. I don't imagine it, unless you have a car waiting there. I don't imagine no one wants to be stuck right there.
Yeah. They spend a lot of time. You've only got what, 15 minutes inside. So, like, if you're the person trying to pick him up, John Cusack would be like the first time he put Cameron D in there. Would he been able to get there in 15 minutes with a car to get her? Like, that seems.
No way. No way. Yeah, from wherever they were in New York to outside the city, I doubt it. Craig's such a fascinating character, from being so shaky with what ends up happening with him. He has these puppet fantasies. He doesn't think it's a good idea to profit from this tunnel at first, but he gets manipulated into it through Maxine, and then gets caught up in the sex and power it offers him. So he's a really interesting character who plays and gets played, which is, I think, one of the core themes of this show. I mentioned Cameron Diaz as Lottie, being great counter casting there, and as she finds out about the phenomena of being able to go into Malkovich's mind, so she wants to experience it for herself, and she has this whole like transsexual episode, I guess you'd call it.
Oh yeah, because she comes out, and because I guess when she went in, he was like taking a shower, and I guess he was like, I don't guess he was full on masturbating, but he was like playing with himself a little bit, or just washing or whatever. And she was like, "Ooh, this feels really good." And so she comes out talking about she wants to be a transsexual. And I mean, keep in mind, this is like 1999, so this is a much different time period than now, where talking about someone transitioning. It was not a common thing. Like, I watched it and I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And I was like, you know what? That was like 20 something years ago. That probably had to be like a big fucking deal back then.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I really enjoy Lottie and Craig get invited to Lester's house for dinner. And then she just kind of goes exploring upstairs and finds this room dedicated to Malkovich. So early on, like, it foreshadows, that Lester has something to do with Malkovich. And what was the thought I had?
And then they like fucking slow roll that. Like they don't
Mm-hmm.
really circle back to that until much later. And I was just like, are we never gonna talk about this? And then we do. And so I was like, oh, okay.
And then at first I thought it was a plot hole because I'm a little I clearly understand the fact. Okay, so they have this window where they have to be in Malkovich's head by this certain time, or otherwise they're gonna end up in his offspring. But like they mention
And
like
if they're in
going
his
into his head
offspring,
gives them like another life. So like I envisioned at first that like they go into his head and then they end up in their own physical forms, but no, I think they're all just in his head. And it would have been nice to have like at least one moment where you had that commotion inside of his head, I think.
well, yeah, because I took it at first as that they were like each one of those people had jumped into those bodies that you were seeing, but then they were all going to be just in John Malkovich. And yeah, if you didn't do it by his midnight on his 44th birthday, they would trap in his offspring, and then they just kind of get. They said they get overtaken or assimilated into the offspring's consciousness, I guess, because it's
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's still growing or it's too strong or whatever.
So how do you feel about Craig by the end? You feel sorry for him? Do you feel
That's
he got what he
that's
deserved?
John Cusack.
It is. I'm a
Um,
little. I myself is torn.
so okay, so he clearly is not the best person. I mean, he fucking locks his wife in a cage with an
Mm-hmm.
ape because he's jealous that she is getting to, through John Malkovich as a proxy, sleep with the woman that he wants to sleep with, that's
Mm-hmm.
not her. So that's okay. Also, that's I never thought that that would be a sentence I would ever fucking say. Um, Um, and then he fucking takes over and just starts controlling John Malkovich, and at the behest of Maxine, just does it for what a year, the 9 months or something, 8 9
Yeah,
months.
quite a while. He has a whole
And
career where he's a
and
struggling puppeteer all the way to the top of the profession. And I love how he goes and talks to his manager and he's just like, oh, yeah, I want to become a puppeteer now. And he's just like, okay, yeah, we can make that happen. Of course, in this absurd reality, that would be his answer. Um, I don't know. I'm torn. So, like, it's established that Craig has some morality to him. He doesn't feel good about it, but he's also, very manipulated by Maxine, and so the power really
um,
gets to him. Hmm.
yeah, the fact that she wants him, but only if he stays as Malkovich. And
Hmm.
then they have the money and the power that comes with being John Malkovich, and then yeah, he part of you is like, well, part of me is like, well, man, she doesn't want me for me, well, and fuck that, whatever. But then also he gets the ability to, he has now the weight and the pull of being John Malkovich to make his actual dreams of being a puppeteer come true. But then you've erased John Malkovich. Like, where's his personality and all of that during that time period? Like, it's just this whole, you're snuffing out one person and one person's reality to fulfill yourself. But I mean, he clearly does love in the way, in some form or way, Maxine, because when they, you know, kidnap her and say they're going to kill her and the baby, you know, well, at first he I guess he's just like, oh, you're full of shit or whatever. But eventually he kind of breaks down and he's like, no, no, I have to, we love each other. She'll be with me. And then, you see that they, um, Maxine and Dottie end up together and just kind of leave him on the side of the fucking road. Um,
Yeah, and I mean Craig, and rightfully so, because he's so wrapped up in his whole puppeteering thing that he probably is not paying her a bit of attention. So she's getting lonely, and then the Lottie thing gets caught back up in it. But
oh, and then the fact that, she got pregnant while it was Lottie inside of Malkovich. So, Malkovich's the father, but Lottie and Maxine are the parents. And then he he tries to go back into Malkovich, but he doesn't know about everything else. So he ends up in the kid.
I would have gladly accepted
Um,
this movie being in 30 extra minutes with us, like, just diverting to what it was like to be one of these people who were just forking out $200 to be Malkovich, because that's happening, but it's all pushed to the side, and it's fascinating. But we're caught up in this whole like little love triangle that's so quirkily fascinating.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, we don't even really mention like not only are they doing this now, they're exploiting it at $200 a pop. Hey, you get to be John Malkovich for 15 minutes, like so. And none of them have like the control that John
Craig
Cusack ends
develops.
up with, but yeah, but it's like this is really exploitative. I mean, those also you'll hear from my lawyer, like.
I'll
Like,
see
what the
you
fuck, how are
in
you
court.
like, how are you
Love
going to
his
explain
delivery
that
on
to a
that.
lawyer? Right, like how? But I mean, let's talk about the scene where John Malkovich goes in John Malkovich,
Yes.
and
I
then
mean, it starts off, he's in like I Love New York hat or something, and he's just like, what is this bizarreness of this line all the way down, and then all of a sudden Cusack sees him, and is like, holy shit, it's you. Yeah, go in.
it's like, and it's John Cusack, yeah, and it's John Cusack. He goes in, and it's John Cusack on a date with a John Cusack with a humongous set of knockers,
Oh,
but still
Malkovich, not John
bald.
Cusack.
Oh yeah,
He goes
Malkovich.
into
Did I say Cusack? Yeah.
a self-obsession state, a total narcissistic, surrealist nightmare.
Like the restaurant's called Malkovich. Every person's Malkovich. Everything in the
Malkovich.
menu is Malkovich. Yeah, Malkovich, and he just like freaks out, and then he ends up on the Jersey Turnpike. Like,
Great stuff.
so yeah, dude, this movie. Like, I remember I was like 15, 20 minutes in, and I was texting a friend of mine, and I was like, this movie's fucking weird as shit. And the movie is weird as shit. Like, it doesn't get unweird, but it is so very good. And I guess when I realized it was Spike Jonze, and the only other movie of his and I did confirm is the only other movie of his I've seen was Her. I fucking love Her. That Her, I think, was a fantastic movie. Like, I don't want to watch it again. Like, I do want to watch it again because it was so good, but I don't want to watch it again because I don't want my heart ripped out and stepped on into a million tiny little pieces. But I mean, that movie is fucking weird too, like, to be fair. So it's just kind of what he does. I guess he does these weird, quirky movies. But yeah, no, this movie's fucking weird, but it is really good. So
how about the digression where all of a sudden we see into the monkey's memory, or the ape or whatever, and then he's like thinking of, I got taken in the jungle, and so now I gotta untie Cameron Diaz or Lottie. So little digressions like that are great.
And also, like, Cameron Diaz, like, our whole life has always been presented as like a bombshell, smoke show kind of actress. Yeah, even though, like, to me, she's never been my favorite. Like, obviously, she's a very attractive woman, and in this movie, they've got her like dressed down really
Shoveled, frizzled
diminutively
hair.
Maybe the frazzled hair.
You know the type.
Yeah, so she's just definitely like against cast, and then like I said, you have Catherine Keener, who's like the only thing I knew her for, obviously was after this 40-Year-Old Virgin, and she wasn't made to play like a down, like, not pretty character, but she's just supposed to be like a MILF kind of character, like an older lady that's attractive, and in this she is like the fucking I am the hot shit, everybody wants to fuck me girl. So it's and usually that's Cameron Diaz, because Cameron Diaz, I mean, this is burned into our heads 30 years later. She's smoking, like so.
It's cool to see how the puppeteering here goes to the next level as Craig like figures out how to control Malkovich, and yeah, he has this whole like new career as like he struggles, and then he gains notoriety to the point where he's like has his like man-sized marionette puppet thing that he's controlling with multiple wires that he's like biting cords and stuff as like dancers around. It's very, very crazy stuff as he's getting all wound up in that. But once again, he's manipulated because Lester gives him a call and says he's going to kill Lottie if he doesn't get out of Malkovich, and he bites it. And that's his big downfall.
Oh, so speaking of Lester, I know that he talked about building and that they keep jumping from like host to host, but are they like aliens or something? Like, did they explain how they were able to do that or why they did that? Other than, obviously living eternally, but Like, were they supposed to be aliens or some shit like that, or is it just kind of ambiguous?
Ambiguous, I think. Yeah, I think it's just this business owner who found this phenomena, and I just it just built on absurdity after absurdity after absurdity that you just kind of lose track and go with it. It's one of those things, I think.
Fair.
Just like I said earlier, it's like, does it make sense for like 30 people to be inside Malkovich's brain and that function cohesively? Probably not. But, he's there at the end and he shows them the picture of, who the next vessel is as Charlie Sheen apparently joins the party.
Yeah, and then Charlie Sheen, when he's young, Charlie Sheen is he's just Charlie Sheen. He's just himself. He's like, I'm sleeping with whoever or whatever, and I was like, yeah, Charlie Sheen just being Charlie Sheen. And then they aged him and had him kind of bald with the comb over, and I'm like, oh god, that's terrible looking.
So yeah, he does still have some morality by the fact that he does want to protect his wife, but yeah, that's not going to go too far for him. So yeah, they're manipulating him to get out. Now the scene where Lottie chases Maxine through the subconscious, the first 2 times I saw that scene, totally fucking blew my mind. Like, one of the coolest artsy things I'd ever, because it's so intense and so weird and so... I didn't quite have the same reaction this time because I knew it was coming, but how was your first time through that ride?
Oh, we're
following through different
fighting
episodes through Malkovich's, past and memory.
That was fucking trippy. Just really was not prepared for that, to be honest. But it was very well done. I can see why, I can see why, it was, because it was nominated for several awards, right?
I actually don't know.
I could definitely, I think I remember seeing that it was, and I was like, I could see why, this was,
at least art design and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. It's a very...
Yeah, wasn't it Jones's first movie, too?
Yeah, it was both Kaufman and Jones's debut. I know they had a lot of backing, obviously, to get this cast, but by the end, Craig, it's fascinating because I feel sorry for him, but he also definitely gets what he deserves, being stuck in that position he is now, being behind the lens of a little girl and watching his ex-wife and crush have their perfect life with him imprisoned in the background. It's pretty gnarly, dark stuff, but at the same time, kind of funny.
But also because, he talks about the first time after he comes out of Malkovich, what does it mean? Do you lose part of yourself and finding one's true self and all of that? And now he's just faded into the background of someone else's existence.
Yeah. From being in that front seat to back seat. So, yeah, I adore the crazy art style of this, and the humor of this movie dips into such interesting themes of being and consciousness and control and manipulation. I love thinking about all that kind of stuff. And it's just funny how this does it in such a quirky, fun, batshit crazy way. I mean, it definitely deserves that that trope or that cliche description. So easy 5 stars for me. Love it.
I gave it 4, because like I said, it was kind of weird throughout, especially at the beginning, but then you get that vibe and it settles in. I definitely feel like, if someone was like, hey, I want to watch this or I want to watch it again, and I rewatched it, I could see myself giving it a little bit higher. Now, because I could probably look for some things that I wasn't paying attention to because I was just like, this is fucking weird. So, but definitely really good. I definitely think when I ranked it, it's in my top 15 movies for the year or something. So,
the first Criterion I ever bought was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas on DVD because I wanted a copy of that movie, and I found it at Borders. I didn't know what Criterion was. My first Criterion purchase where I knew what the collection was being John Malkovich. I bought that and The Killing. So this was my first pick from the collection. So,
The Killing, but you don't even like that movie.
But it was Kubrick, and I was young and dumb, so there you go.
I mean, you can just
I didn't
send
even
it
know
to
The Killing
me.
was on
I
Blu-ray at
like
that point. I just picked up the DVD thinking, it's a black and white Criterion. It's probably only DVD. Nope, there's a Blu-ray out there somewhere. Anywho, I know we'll probably take a bit. This next episode will probably come in November because we're about to start our Halloween movie season.
Yeah, and my plan was to have started Halloween already. But yeah, so I think the next episode will be the Halloween special, probably in about a month. So, and our feature movie for that is going to be Christine, correct?
Sounds good. I forgot
All
that,
right, so
but
yes,
now I
so
remember.
yes, so the Halloween movie will be
John
Christine
Carpenter.
plus all the other, John Carpenter, Stephen King combo. So, should be
Maybe
a good
Carnage
one.
2 will come out, and I'll get to put that on my list.
Oh boy. But all of our other Halloween movies, all of our spooky season movies, we'll do our normal countdown and we'll talk about Christine. I'm looking forward to that. I have not seen that one before, so I am pretty stoked. Do we want to
Okay.
go ahead and talk about what's going to come after Halloween?
Yeah, so sometime in November we'll do another show. And what's your pick for it?
All right. Well, let's think. You know how I do,
Bum,
so
bum,
let's
bum,
think
bum,
back
bum.
to what the quote was at the beginning.
Bum.
Who specifically said
Oh,
that
okay.
quote?
Okay.
So we're doing rewatch. We're doing, this is my rewatch pick, and on the last episode, I did say that I was going to pick Batman Forever, and when I originally was going to pick like all the Batmans and run through the Batmans, but since I kind of opened my mouth and gave it away, I figured I would change it up a little bit. This is one of my favorite movies, and it is definitely a movie that I feel like we can get into a lot of meaty conversation about and a lot of deep,
Heavy.
heavy stuff. Yeah, you already know. So that is, if you haven't figured it out from listening to this, so that was Edward Furlong in that opening quote, and the other big movie that I think most people know him from is with Ed Norton, and that's American History X. So just be warned when you come to that episode in November, it will be probably full of, I mean, obviously my graphic language, but it's going to be a lot of graphic content and racially driven violence and that kind of stuff. But it is such a good movie. It's so well made, and I think it's a very important movie.
Yep, that'll be a good one to revisit. It's been a while, but definitely remember that. I mean, how could it not have an emotional impact on you? It's such a heavy movie. And I'm not bringing anything lighter to the party either. So I had mentioned that
we've just brought all the heaviness.
So I mentioned earlier that I'm trying to get through all the best pictures that I've seen, but not in like the Letterboxd era. So I have a review on every single best picture out there. And I scanned through my list. So let's get a little context here. Let me give you a little context. How many movies do I have on this list? You don't know what it is yet, do you?
I do not. I don't look. Even right now, while I want to look, because you're about to tell it, I'm not looking.
What's this blonde movie everybody's talking about on Letterboxd? All right.
What movie?
All right. So my best picture winners, I need to rewatch. The list is up to 16. Includes Birdman, The French Connection, Moonlight, The Sting, Patton, The Lost Weekend, $1 Million Baby, Rain Man, Slumdog Millionaire, A Beautiful Mind, Gandhi, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Chariots of Fire, Driving Miss Daisy, Ordinary People. But I thought I'd do you a solid and check out Clint Eastwood's alleged masterpiece, Unforgiven.
Boy, howdy. I have not seen that in a hot ass minute. I am super stoked to watch that. I thought when you were talking about something that was heavy and you mentioned $1 Million Baby, and I was like, boy, I just saw that for the first time like a year or two ago. Well, I guess it was 2 years ago. It was before I lived in this apartment. I was like, but I will watch that again. That movie was great. But I haven't seen Unforgiven.
Also Clint
Probably
Eastwood
since
movie.
I was too young. Yeah, it is. Also, probably since I was too young to probably have been watching it, so it's going to be good to revisit that as an adult. That's two very good movies, two very heavy movies. So Oh yeah, that's I mean, I don't think we could. I mean, both of them are going to deal with racism, so that's just in different time periods, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, we made a themed episode, not trying to make a themed episode.
Heavy shit. All right. If you'd like to us to answer any questions on the next show, make sure to email us or contact us. And how do they do that, Joey?
So you can email us at theaverageshowsmovieclubcast@gmail.com. We will do our best to not let it go a couple of months before we answer it. I'm gonna be real, like we were probably just kind of surprised.
Yeah, we
because
only had a
we don't get a
handful of
ton.
emails, so sometimes they're hard to spot.
We would
But
like we would like more, so please, 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 please send us in stuff. Or if you don't want to send an email, I mean, you can go on either of our letterbox pages and comment. Justin is probably a little bit more active on there than I am, but he also has like 10 times plus the followers that I do. You can also hit us on our Facebook page, Twitter. Like we're pretty contactable. So or below underneath in the comments here on YouTube. I mean, there are ways. Just reach out. We'd love to hear from you. And your thoughts on our thoughts or your thoughts in general, and just have a good time talking about movies.
rock on. So, Joey, why do we do this show?
Because we love talking about movies.
Thanks, QT, for that quote. Good night, everybody.
We did it.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
Non mi piace il feeling. Spirito Santo.
I think this just might be my master.